And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. You know, it's interesting. Ray Amaya and I were just talking about this. We were, looking at the big controversy over the Cecil Andrus forest and the Boulder White Clouds and Senator Risch taking it on the chin last week and people saying, well, bygones should be bygones, and why doesn't Senator Risch let this happen? Well, look, we've reached out to both Senator Risch and Senator Crapo and haven't heard from them. I don't know if it's because of they're busy or this omnibus bill, or they just don't want to talk to us, which is fine. This program is always about you, the newsmakers, not the public servants or what have you. And, we've built this show with you. You've built this show again and again. So, we wish them well and we hope to hear from them. But it's funny how people are going after Senator Risch for this Boulder White Clouds thing, and you're thinking, well, I have to admire Jim Risch. I just have to admire Jim Risch because he's sticking to his guns. If there was an issue with him and Cecil Andrus, remember, Cecil was the guy who gave us Barack Obama. And people love Cecil Andrus, and, people will say he was the best governor ever. He served before I got here. But, so many times we've heard of, well, you need to move on. You need to do this. You need to do that. I got to tell you, I'm pretty happy that Jim Risch isn't going to let that happen. And, the idea of naming a forest after the libs get everything. Are we to believe that only the libs care about the forest? And it was because of the spotted owl and everyone else that we don't have the timber industry? With all due respect, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, and I'm saying this with a smile on my face, that the whole idea of the libs naming things after, forest and the environment, which is very important, I get it. Just tell that to the farmers right now. Tell that to the people that are dealing with the BLM. Tell that to the folks that are hurting, right? I mean, the state's been continuing on with this story. Idaho lawmaker, old Matt Erpelding, our good friend, says he met with GOP resistance when he tried to honor Cecil Andrus. Well, yeah, look at what the Democrats do all the time to Republicans. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But the Republicans, they kind of have some talking points. We're a conservative show. And, we carry on conservative values, but we're not like the statesman that carries the water for the libs. We're not like the newspapers and the TV stations that carry water for the libs. We represent the people, right? And like I said, we're always talking about the environment and Boulder White Clouds and how we stopped Obama from taking it over and everything else because we were the only ones that outed them right before Obama came, and Mayor Beater begging him, please, Obama, federalize the Boulder White Clouds. And Obama heard about it from us because we outed him. So at 580-5436, that's the only time I think Mike Simpson's office has called here angrily saying you're going to blow up the deal or what have you. But I digress. Yeah, it's silly in this world in the world that we live in, right? That this is such a major story. And Jim Risch is a powerful guy now, Senator Risch. So why not take a shot at him? Everybody else seems to. Well, we're not. Look, if Jim Risch doesn't like Cecil Andrus, good. Good for him. Don't be a hypocrite. We have too many hypocrites in our society today. I just love it how the libs are ginning this up and going after, again and again and again, going after Senator Risch. By the way, at KIDOTalkRadio.com, a couple things going on. Let me remind you, coming up next week, it's Win Kevin Miller's Cash, where you could win $5,000 just by listening to KIDO Talk Radio. We'll give you the times. It'll be usually, is it during this show and Sean Hannity, I believe? Well, I can't repeat that yet because I haven't been given my instructions. However, I'm going to speculate. So, again, listen to us, listen to Sean. We know you do that all the time for your chance to win $5,000, up to $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. So, speaking of our website, we've got a story about some new laws that have gone into effect. And, of course, the legislature, they're still here doing their own thing, having a good time, whatever you want to call it. So they're here, and they're proud of their new laws. So let's take a look at some of the new laws. My favorite new law is this, that if you're in the left-hand lane, and you're not going fast enough, or you're in the passing lane on freeways, which in Idaho is in most states, it's on the left or the right. Remember when they used to fine you if you went on the right-hand lane, if you passed? Well, that doesn't happen anymore. Well, if you're going too slow, you can be cited. Is that really necessary? Now, I know you can't cite people for tailgating because we don't have enough police officers to make that happen. But really, the slowpoke drivers, this is what we're happy about. And here's something that my friend Ted is always reminding me about, trespassing. So, by the way, again, congratulations to the Idaho State Legislature. They, in fact, have passed this great law that have said, look, we need to take this done, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. Well, anyway, so the trespassing law, know where you are, and you will not have to worry about trespassing charges. Now, this is from the Statesman, is the message behind this new law that increases penalties for trespassing and requires landowners to conspicuously post no trespassing signs. This is the same bill that I guess that if you tiptoe on someone's property, they can cite you, that the majority of the Treasure Valley and the state's police said, please don't do this. This is not a good thing. And they've decided to make this happen. I mean, really? It's crazy to me at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, right, that we're going to do this. And really, many people believe that this is an ode to the big money corporations, the big money people that are coming into Idaho. And those of you, like our friend John and Weezer, the farmer that plays the piano, a handmade piano, by the way, you see your state and you wonder what the future is. Are we just going to be like Belize? You know, like Glenn Beck talks about Belize, going to Belize, hanging out in Belize, Belize this, Belize that. You can get more for your money. So if you're middle class in a state like, California, you can come here and hang out with us. And because you've made your money in a state with a higher cost of living, you come here and it's lower, and you make it happen. Have we become one big giant service state? That is a good question that we'll get to. So again, those are some of the issues that we're talking about today. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. But I go back to the state legislature. And the issue here is, did they really do anything? Now, people have said, Kevin Miller, all you ever talk about is the grocery tax. And the grocery tax this and the grocery tax that. I would have liked to have seen the grocery tax brought up, wouldn't you? I would like to have seen them bring up the grocery tax and say, why not bring this up? Why not repeal it? We'll get to that in a minute, but first, here's your Miller Morning Montage.
The president's been very clear that we will impose costs on Russia when it is in our interest to do so. And when it's in our interest to work with Russia, we'll do that as well.
The president ordered the expulsion of dozens of Russian intelligence officers and the closure of the Russian consulate in Seattle. This action is a response to Russia's use of a military-grade chemical weapon in the United Kingdom, and was taken in conjunction with our allies and partners around the world. We want to work with Russia, but this type of an action cannot be tolerated. The United States is responding to Russia's action, as I called it, brazen and reckless. So this is a U.S. response. We want to work with Russia. The ball's in their court with respect to how they want to respond.
This is really not just us, but multiple countries saying all of these actions have to stop. This is not what we do in any other place, and it can't be acceptable for you to do this. Unfortunately, Russia's now being held accountable for a lot of things, and they have a decision to make.
There we have it, right? There we have it. Let's start with John and Weezer with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, John.
Morning, Kevin.
Hey, John! Your ears must have been burning.
Well, you called me out. Trespassing signs. Our ranch here is a little over 4 miles long, and I posted it, but I put my phone number on each end of it, and that's been, I think about 6 years it's been out there, and I've had one call, and that was some people that were up at the upper end of the ranch, and there was deer, and they had a deer tag, and people are very nice. I think, in general, if you're nice to people, they return that. And what I see happening is the ranches around me have been bought by people who don't ranch, who take spray cans of orange and they mark their property with orange, and you drive up there and it just looks like a junkyard with orange rocks all over the place. I call it the Red Rock Ranch. But and then these ranchers hire people to patrol their place and turn in trespassers, and it's
You've seen that, people with patrols and stuff?
Yeah. My neighbor's a sheriff's deputy, and he was in plain clothes, and they actually stopped him on the road. They blockaded the road, and he pulled out his badge, and he says it's illegal to kidnap people, and they backed way off. But
They were going to kidnap somebody?
well, they stop people on the road and ask them what they're doing, where they've been, or that sort of thing. So that has happened, and so it's well, they rent their ground out for hunters for a lot of money, and so that's what goes on. And but legally, you should mark your property. And the other side of it is my wife's out spraying weeds behind trees, and people stop on the county road and shoot from the county road into the trees. She had to come out behind them and yell at them, and I went up with the sheriff and talked to them later, and they were inebriated. The sheriff made them change drivers and sent them on their way. But people try to get along up here. But I think that if they're going to mark their property, they need to properly mark it so people know, and put a phone number on it in case there's an emergency. You have to go onto somebody's property to retrieve something. Should be properly marked.
So
anyway,
back to this though. This is really happening, John. So if I came out to your place, you could show me these security people?
In hunting season, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
How are they dressed?
Oh, they're just people that have agreed to watch. They're not hired. They usually get free hunting or something like that.
Right.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, John, thank you very much. We're still going to get that shovel to Mr. Trump. Okay.
That'll be great. Great. Sure appreciate it, Kevin.
All right. Take care, John. You have a great day.
Yeah, and we're glad you're there. And of course, I'm part of the Miller militia. You know.
You are. Well,
So-
you can be the colonel.
Yeah, you can call in the piano player when things get really rough.
That's right. Like calling in the airstrike.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our friend John Weezer R&R. Hold on. Coming up, we'll talk more about the new legislative laws and what you have to say. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. R&R, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. Hey, real deal Millie. So good to hear your voice, and I really enjoy a number of topics. Let me be right on the spot with the laws in the state. Having been around here off and on for 60-some years, the movement of traffic and all of those arterials that get up to the freeway going from north to south, for sure. Some people don't know that the lights are set for, a certain flow of traffic for a very certain period of time. So this speeding and jetting around and trying to get ahead of this person and that and passing on the right and left, it just comes right down to the point of being very irresponsible and dangerous with massive cars that are, it's so expensive to get in a wreck, not counting the toll on human life. But so I just want to say one more time that it ain't 1964 anymore. welcome to the valley. Those of us that have been around off and on, we know, we're never going back. So just going 35 or 45 in a 30 mile and trying to push the lights and stuff, you just do. You start watching. I've got friends that set traffic in another state for off and on 30 years. Now, the last one was getting on the freeway. It's not 80 mile an hour speed limit until you get way out of town going east. So I don't know how many times I've got on out there somewhere at mile, 32 on the freeway, and you're coming on the on-ramp and people are just flying when you get out there. You're supposed to do 60. These are maximum posted speeds.
Well,
during best of conditions.
No, I agree with you, R&R. That's what gets me is that people are crazy. They either drive, I guess, too slow or, they're going crazy. And, I'll tell you, I drive on State Street on my way in the morning. I got a guy with a big pickup, like, tailgating me. I'm like, dude, there's the left-hand lane. I'm in the right-hand lane. Go at it, hero. It's just crazy.
It's lethal. And it's dangerous, and and to not ticket it, it's just wrong. I mean, these vehicles these days, if you're not carrying $300,000 minimum insurance, you get in a wreck. It's all about insurance, Kevin, and about what you can prove in a court of law. So it's just, and again, it's the best of conditions during daylight and dry. People are out there doing over the speed limit by 10 and 15. And where are they going? They're going to some...
They're going to a place they don't want to be. R&R, thank you for the call. It is 6:26, traffic and weather. Yeah, thank you, Larry. I still haven't worn all my hoodies yet. Hey, I do want to remind you, coming up, what is it? No, not Wednesday, Kevin. Thursday, we're going to be at Ultra Touch in Meridian, saluting Meridian, Idaho. By the way, is anybody working this week? It's like spring break week, right? Everybody out having a good time. Schools are out. Maybe you're doing a staycation. Sounds good to me. Anyway, we'll be at Ultra Touch in Meridian. And if you live in Meridian, you know where the Ultra Touch is, right over across by the kids again. Stop by and see us. If you, would like to have something to say on the radio, you want to do it in person, why not join us? That is Thursday morning at Ultra Touch on Cherry Lane, good old Cherry Lane in Meridian. We would love to see you there. We'll be there hanging out, saluting the fine people of Meridian. Then after that is the school season. We'll be back promoting our schools, securing our future, thanks to our great friends at Cap Ed and Team Mazda Subaru. We've got some great schools this year. Ray and I have been working diligently with our great friend, the on-site producer, George, to make this happen. Some old favorites, some new schools, and we're looking forward to that as well. One thing that has changed in our daily habits in the old days, and it's funny, like Jeff Manasso, when we have Jeff on, and even I believe Sean Hannity does this when he wakes up, he goes right to his tablet or his device, right? Now, for me, I'm old school. I have a clock radio that I get up and I hit because I won't wake up, right? And then I have an old-fashioned, they call it a radio, not a device, and I have on KIDO Talk Radio, and I listen to what George Norrie's doing to scare me or what have you, scare me awake. But for many of us, what we do is the first thing we do is we log on onto our devices, and we have something called the Facebook. Now, Facebook is under fire. In fact, the cover of this week's Bloomberg Business Week talks about people opting out of Facebook, and Mrs. Miller was asking me about this, and I said, as I say to everybody, well, you listen to 5 to 9. Everything else, ma'am, is a free sample. But apparently, Facebook could be investigated. Now, last week, we did a Miller's Minute on some of the millennials wanting to regulate Facebook like it's a utility. That's quite a leap, isn't it? Maybe for some people it isn't. I mean, we live with our phones. We love our phones. We have to do this. But television is a luxury. The Internet really is a luxury, not a necessity, not like water and electricity, right? I mean, really, that's what we're thinking when we're comparing, a social media thing to something, right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I want you to think about that coming up. We'll get your thoughts on whether or not Facebook should be regulated. And fascinating story there when you're thinking of the Facebook being regulated. And I'm thinking, well, who would regulate it? Congress. That's right. Congress is actually looking at regulating Facebook. Do you believe that Facebook is the same thing as your water, your electric, your sewer? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug. KIDO Talk Radio, live to New York. Tony J. Powers, Fox News Radio on the Facebook. You know, I'm so happy it was serendipitous. I was teasing this whole segment, and here we have you to bring it home for us. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Facebook, could it be possibly a utility? I mean, a lot of people are looking at it, including the FTC, and I can't believe that people are opting out of it, but the cover of this week's Bloomberg Business Week it's a serious issue for Facebook.
You're surprised that people are opting out of Facebook?
Yeah, to me, I thought it was just one of those things that people would just go, but apparently, just like this NFL thing, it's got some teeth.
Yeah, I think people have their limits on what they will allow. I think once people have started to grasp the nature of what's really going on here, the Cambridge Analytica thing, I think, went over a lot of people's heads because it was sort of, this sort of abstract sort of thing out there. And then when I think more and more people started to realize how it had worked and that, it was one of those third-party apps that you give your permission on Facebook to look at your profile or whatever, I think most of us are going, oh, okay, well, that's not going to be anything nefarious. Well, sometimes it is. Sometimes they use information far past when they're supposed to, as is in this case. A lot of people were affected by this. So now the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is now has confirmed they're investigating Facebook over the accusation of the misuse of personal information of as many as 50 million Facebook users. That's a lot of us. And if people aren't real up to date on what happened as far as Cambridge Analytica goes, they had a psychology app that they had used on Facebook to gather information on Facebook users that clicked on the app and used it. Cambridge Analytica says it, worked on behalf of the Trump organization in the election in 2016. So not only did you give them permission to see your information on Facebook when you used this particular app, this little psychology thing, your friends unwittingly were also sucked into this because they took the information of the user and the user's friends, whether they gave permission or not. So even if you didn't, if one of your friends did, they could have accessed your information as well. And I think that's once that kind of sunk into a lot of people, they went, wait a minute, hold on a second. It's one thing for me to do it and say, okay, you can look at my profile. It's another entirely different thing for somebody else to do it, and then you get access to mine through theirs. And that's just the tip of it. The other big story today is that the Android app for Facebook has been collecting call and text histories for years. Facebook has been able to siphon off this information because Google let them, basically. Apple does not have this problem, apparently, because they lock down their app permissions pretty tightly. They always have. It has always been a lot harder to get an app in the iTunes store than it has on, for Android devices. That's just how that has always worked. Apple has a lot of restrictions. You have to jump through a lot of hoops to get an app in the iTunes store. That doesn't mean they're all, 100% wonderful. It just means they have to go through a lot more strenuous, permissions to get it on there than you do for Android. So the fact that now people have understood that, the Facebook has been compiling the data of every phone call they made and every text message they sent on their phone, that's got a lot of people's interest and, quite frankly, their dander up over that.
Indeed, but I mean, is it just a shock that Facebook takes your data and really it's not really yours because you're using their platform? Remember, Tanya, we had this whole discussion when Facebook decided what they did want on their platform and what they didn't. And some people said, well, it's freedom of speech. Well, it's kind of like you pay a token to get on the subway, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the fact that, free is not necessarily free. You're going to pay for it somehow. All this wonderful social media that's free is not actually free. I mean, they're getting information, which is what they're, I won't say trafficking in, but that's what's worth, all of that, offering free products to people. They're getting something out of it. It's we've seen this for as old as time, basically. It shouldn't surprise us that they're getting information. I think the thing that shocks us is how much they're getting that we didn't tell them they could have. I think that's the part that's going to get a lot of people's attention. And there are some, big names that have already said, pulling my Facebook pages. Elon Musk said he was going to delete his for Tesla as well as SpaceX. I know he has, as of yesterday, I saw that he had unpublished them. I'm not sure if they're completely deleted, but they're at least unpublished. They're not on there anymore, or they weren't yesterday. And he's not the only one.
Well, Facebook is a marvelous tool, but remember, it's, as we all know, it's not our platform. It's Zuckerberg's. I wonder what's next for them. They've It's been very rare since, unless you count the Accidental Billionaires or the movie The Social Network After, based on that book, they really haven't had a lot of right hands to the face.
No, they really haven't. It's kind of like the Wild West, and Facebook galloped in there first, and there aren't any. It's kind of lawless as far as any regulations or crackdowns on this kind of stuff, and they've sort of avoided a lot of regulation and a lot of that. They may not be able to at this point with all of this information coming out. There are some lawmakers that are already calling for Zuckerberg to testify, and they want some answers to some questions. Because a lot of their constituents are saying, "What is going on here? What are you? What else did you do? What else do you have of mine?" I think it's very surprising to a lot of people that the reach on this is as big as it is.
Well, we know all about the Wild West here.
Yeah, you do.
Won't be long before the old stampede is coming.
That's true. It is. What month is that?
July.
Wow.
Just saying.
Yeah. No.
Saying.
Believe me. I'm glad that you reminded me this early.
Well, to be continued. Tanya J. Powers, we always enjoy your work. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just waking up, we're talking a little bit about Facebook and the FTC. Thank you to Tanya J. Powers. Remember, when you hear Fox News on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Next week, it's Win K. Millie's Cash, Kevin Miller's Cash. Your chance to win up to $5,000. $5,000. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Hank in Boise. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. The feud really goes back to the 1980s when Risch was...
Now, wait a minute, Hank. We've got to set this up. Earlier today, we were talking about Jim Risch versus Cecil Andrus.
Right.
And why they don't want to make the Boulder White Clouds the Cecil Andrus Boulder White Clouds. How about the Butch Otter Forest?
Well, you're gonna get my riled up. You should know how to get me going. I'll tell you what. They've got 284 more days they can steam clean the manure out of there.
Now, here's another one. And let me apologize in advance to people that love the governor. In honor of Hank, the Butchie Baby Forest, the Butchie Baby Boulder White Clouds.
Butchie Baby needs to be cleaned out of the governor's office.
Oh my! Go ahead, please. Yes.
Okay. Basically, the and Risch had power in the Senate to the degree that Butch does down in the legislature. He could block legislation, and this is where it got Andrus going, because a lot of Andrus's education initiatives and stuff were blocked by Risch. And Andrus's private nickname for Risch was Little Napoleon, and there was other names that I can't on your family radio that I can't repeat. And
they called Senator Risch Little Napoleon.
Little Napoleon. That was Andrus's little nickname for him.
Why do they always do that with us guys that are vertically challenged?
Well, that was the nickname. And Andrus was very skillful in detaching moderate or rhino Republicans off to work for his administration. People like Dean Summers and Larry Jackson and others. And he built kind of a coalition, and then you had the growth of Boise State, which began to affect Ada County politics starting in the 80s. And Andrus stopped all means recreation and got Risch defeated in the 1990 election. They also came very close to taking the Idaho State Senate. They actually got an 18-18 tie in the 1990 election. And if it wasn't for Butch Otter being lieutenant governor at the time, the Democrats could have organized the Senate. That was the only time since 1959 that the Democrats even came close to controlling the House and the Idaho legislature. And basically, it was Phil Batt that revitalized Risch's career. It was when Batt became governor in 1995, he appointed Risch to a vacant legislative seat, and that was the beginning of Risch's comeback in Idaho politics. But there was.
So, what do you say to people that say to Jim Risch, Senator Risch, just get over it, Jim, move on?
Well, the press, of course, always favors, even the local media, the Democrats. And Andrus was portrayed as this, moderate, reasonable person. Actually, in reality, Andrus was a very hyper-partisan and could be very petty and very vindictive in private. And I could see where Risch couldn't really stem it. And really a lot of credit belongs to other people besides Cecil Andrus. You could make an argument, and I'm not a big fan of Mike Stinson, but a lot of the legislation that's created this present state has to go to, I think, to Mike Stinson to a large degree. I mean, basically Andrus campaigned on those issues back in 1970 when he ran against Don Samuelson.
Right, we're getting lost. We're getting lost in the weeds, though. So,
but my point being that there are other people who could equally deserve the credit, and to single Andrus out is my point in this.
Well, Andrus, right? I'm with you, but Andrus isn't around anymore. So why not honor him? And now you have the libs and the press going, "Well, Jim Risch is a bad guy." Look. I'm all about holding grudges.
Well, Andrus did hold grudges. I mean,
and then let Jim Risch hold a grudge.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let them hold a grudge. I mean, I think and there's been an attempt to basically deify Democrats. Church gets a room, or Andrus gets a room at the Boise State Library. Church is memorialized at Boise State, and there's an attempt to basically turn these guys into deified, saints like Abraham Lincoln in Idaho politics. And I'm not admirers of either one of them, so I take a different view. But anyway, that's the background that I wanted to provide you on what was going on back then. And Cecil could fight very, very dirty, and he did.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you, Hank. Hey,
Thank
Hank.
you. Bye.
Hank.
What?
You remember Cecil brought us Obama.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cecil.
He did. He brought us Obama.
I remember the big thing. He came on the John Dwayne and Chris Kelly show and really gave and eulogized Obama back in 2008. I remember that radio show because I listened to it. It was I think back in 2008, and he got on their show, and he just literally eulogized Obama.
Well, thank you, Cecil, for Obama. Thank you, Hank.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us. Remember, Kevin Miller's Cash starts Monday. Your chance to win $5,000 just by listening to KIDO Talk Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. All you have to do is, hear what we have to say, listen during the Kevin Miller Show, the Sean Hannity Show, and we'll tell you what to do next. Also, more information at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Coming up next hour, it is Michael Snyder will join us in studio. Mr. Snyder has been getting a lot of people buzzing on conservative politics here in the Treasure Valley and across the state as he vies for the first congressional seat. Of course, a big event tonight at the Ram. If you want to see those folks, You can go check it out. Brought to you by, I believe, by the Ada County Republican Party. It's going to be another forum, and that will be at the Ram tonight, I believe, at 6. So there we have it. Michael Snyder will join us, so he'll answer your questions coming up at about 7:20 here at KIDO Talk Radio. Our time is 6:56. Let's figure out how you're going to get. So here's the question. If Facebook went away, how many of us would really miss it?
The Federal Trade Commission confirmed it's investigating Facebook, the same federal agency that had Facebook sign a consent decree back in 2011 over the same issues it's dealing with now, alleged privacy abuses. Though in this case, a British data mining and campaign strategy firm got data from roughly 50 million profiles without most of the users knowing. David Griggs is a former FTC prosecutor.
The commission can choose to go for a fine, they can go for civil penalties, or they can go into federal court in order to try to recover damages for consumers who were defrauded.
Separately, the head of the Senate Judiciary Committees requested that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg appear before them on April 10th. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
So Zuckerberg and Facebook say they're apologizing, but on the other hand, you have people like Pep Boys and others saying we're out of Facebook. Now, Facebook is, maybe they've jumped the shark. People use it all the time, but it's not a necessity. It's a luxury, right? As our friend Dave Petzo and I talk about all the time, and I really credit Dave with this saying, making a luxury a necessity. And isn't that really the world that we live in today? Kevin, we're not going to go back to the typewriters and such, but we have so many luxuries that we consider necessities. Televisions have to be flat screens. They have to be big. Oh, if it's not the latest technology, out with the old. Same with the phones. I mean, how did we survive when we didn't have phones that roamed with us? How did we survive before, we didn't know what Billy was doing in Tacoma? Well, we did survive, right? Like I said, look, my example is our friend John in Weiser, who's listening right now, out farming every day, sun up to sunset. I don't think he's on the Facebook. He's actually working. And maybe less social media. Here's something revolutionary. Less social media might be a good thing, but is a good thing, right? Kevin Miller in the morning. We're just getting started. Fox News next on KIDO Talk Radio, your home for Fox News right here in the Treasure Valley. Good morning.